wie ein Steinermars in Ratzenberger und
Becks?
Unbecks?
Yeah.
Unbecks!
This right here is the only way I'm going to make it through a Steve Shives video. Und trinken.
Do all ideas deserve a fair hearing? Sure.
You know, if you would have stopped right there, we probably would have all agreed with you. Yes, all ideas deserve a fair share and fair hearing. For a guy that reads Christian books that are written by authors that just try to reiterate the same shit in the Bible over and over and over, I'm pretty sure that those ideas have had their fair share of looks, look-backs, relooks, revisits, what have you, for the last 2,000 years of the same bullshit that everybody's believed in. So it sounds like you agree, but then you had to go and say this like a fucking dumbass.
But what about ideas who have had their fair hearing and have been widely discredited and rejected? With the recent punching of white supremacist Richard Spencer and protesters shutting down scheduled appearances by racist, misogynist, professional internet troll Milo Yiannopoulos.
So let's just check that out now, Steve. What does the internet say? Let's Google the shit out of this, shall we? Richard Burton Spencer. Oh, look. Wikipedia says it. He must be a white supremacist. Oh, let's continue. Oh, CNN. Yeah, that's a trustworthy news source. White nationalist. Richard Spencer. Not white supremacist. White nationalist. Of course, you don't know the difference because, well, you're Steve. It says enough for me. White supremacist speaks at alt-right gathering, even though it says, yeah, hey, look, he's a white nationalist. But then they go on to call him a white supremacist. Yeah, whatever. Forward. Yeah, whoever the fuck reads that. Richard Spencer, a white supremacist and popularizer of the term alt-right. Okay, so they called him a white supremacist. Richard Spencer, white supremacist. Trolls Trudeau. Oh my god, another person called him white supremacist. Oh, look at that. It's Huffington Post. Why am I not surprised? Salon, the prominent white supremacist. God, all these news outlets just call him white supremacist. Must be true, right? All these people just agree, and they all happen to be leftist views that really just align with your views. Call him a white supremacist. I wonder if that's true. Shall we find out? So here, Steve, it's, a whole 43 seconds. I think it can take 43 seconds of your time. Let's see if he calls himself a white supremacist. Since you like to call him a Nazi, a neo-Nazi, white supremacists would not like black people. So let's find out. I mean, straight from his mouth, right? Unless, of course, you think he's lying, but, that's you. Let's just listen.
To be honest, this is where we are. I've given conferences for ages, and we'll usually expect some protesters, they'll do silly string or something like that. We've entered this new world where the leftist protesters, no, I'm not a neo-Nazi.
So that took me all of, 5 minutes to prove you wrong in a video where he got punched in the face? No, he's not a neo-Nazi. Everybody's calling him a neo-Nazi except for himself. Now, would he deny that? Possibly. I can give you the benefit of the doubt there. Do his actions seem like a white supremacist? No, not really. White nationalist, sure. All he cares about is the white race because of white genocide and all that other bullshit that's just absolutely ridiculous. It's dumb. Stupid. And you probably agree with me there. It's completely stupid. It's completely dumb. But you want to silence them. Yet here you are giving a voice to people with your An Atheist Read series. You fucking hypocrite. No, I'm going to instead address one other little bit in there that you had about Milo. I think he's a professional internet troll. I agree with you there. He is. He's kind of a dumbass in some cases. But then you go to call him a racist, misogynist. God, is that right? Racist, You know what? Let's just have you repeat it, because clearly Das Boot is not completed yet. And we're only, 30 seconds into your goddamn video?
A racist, misogynist, professional internet troll.
Steve, you irritate me so much, I have to do this again. Sorry. You see what you did? Fucking party foul for you, asshole. Anyways, you call him a bunch of names. Well, there's a short little minute clip that pretty much refutes what you say. Ironically, I've listened to other speeches of him, and he repeats this effort. You have your own stance and views, I'm sure, on being colorblind, as it's called, a metaphorically speaking version of colorblind, which means the skin color of any individual does not matter. You seem to think it does. To the rest of the rational world, I could give a fuck about what skin color you have. I only care about what's in here, and yours is empty, clearly, because you believe in a new ideology. You've become a religious zealot, and you don't even realize it. Just like a Christian always thinks they're right, you seem to think you're right too. But you can't make the comparison. So let's see what Milo has to say, shall we?
Thank you very much. And I would encourage you to treat this presidency as an opportunity to take back some of the ground that was lost. And I don't necessarily mean fighting identity politics with identity politics, but rather reclaim for America some reason, some logic, some common sense. Demonstrate how insane and ludicrous this stuff is. Because, you know, the reality is, if you force everyone to play identity politics, if you insist on pitting whites against blacks, women against, you know, men, straights against gays, the reality is you guys are going to win. And the left isn't going to like it very much. But there's a better way, you know? Don't fight identity politics with identity politics. White pride, white nationalism, white supremacy isn't the way to go. The way to go is reminding them and yourselves that you should be aspiring to values and to ideas. You should be focusing on what unites people, not what drives them apart. And you shouldn't give a shit about skin color. You shouldn't give a shit about sexuality. You shouldn't give a shit about gender. And you should be deeply suspicious of the people who do.
A racist, misogynist, professional internet troll.
Well, holy shit, Steve. He just said everything that a Nazi wouldn't say. So that makes him not a Nazi. I think the real problem is you don't even know what the fuck a Nazi is. You have no idea. I know Kraut and T does. He lives in Germany, and he seems very astute on history in particular. I happen to have studied Hitler specifically because I wanted to know, how can someone that's so fucked up, that did so much horrible stuff in his life, how does that person even get into power? How does he become a leader? That was what I was concerned with. And so in my studies, in my personal, you know, doctoral studies, something that you don't have, not that I should, you know, appeal to authority, being that I took the time to learn shit and you didn't. But I went and looked up, you know, how did Hitler get into power? Guess what I found, Steve? You know how in the rest of this video, you pretty much say, we need to silence those, or at least, you know, don't necessarily silence them, but to have them stand on a soapbox and say their piece over there in the corner like the rest of the raving lunatic evangelical Christians do, passing out pamphlets downtown in your nearest city. So, I want you to listen to this. I really do. I may have insulted you throughout this entire video. I actually feel insulted from previous conversations that we had, and then you flat out blocked me because you just didn't agree, or maybe because I followed people that you disagreed with, so your block bot magic happened. But I really want you to listen to what's said here, because it's extremely important. And if you miss it, shit's on you, man. Seriously. You have an opportunity to learn. This is the opportunity.
Wie in anderen Universitätsstädten Deutschlands wurden undeutsche und unsittliche Bücher von den Studenten eingesammelt und öffentlich verbrannt. Der Scheiterhaufen auf dem Opernplatz in Berlin. Reichsminister Dr. Goebbels spricht zur Jugend. Meine Kommilitonen, Deutsche Männer und Frauen, das Zeitalter eines überspitzten jüdischen Intellektualismus ist nun zu Ende. Und der Durchbruch der deutschen Revolution hat auch dem deutschen Weg wieder die Gasse freigemacht. Und der kommende deutsche Mensch wird nicht nur ein Mensch des Buches, sondern auch ein Mensch des Charakters sein. Und dazu wollen wir euch erziehen. Jung schon den Mut zu haben, dem Leben in die erbarmungslosen Augen hineinzuschauen. Die Furcht vor dem Tode zu verlernen, um vor dem Tode wieder Ehrfurcht zu bekommen. Das ist die Aufgabe dieses jungen Geschlechts. Und deshalb tu dir gut daran, um diese mitternächtige Stunde den Ungeist der Vergangenheit, den Flammen anzuvertrauen. Das ist eine starke, große und symbolische Handlung. Eine Handlung, die vor aller Welt dokumentieren soll. Wir sind die geistige Grundlage der Novemberrepublik zu Boden. Aber aus diesen Trümmern wird sich siegreich erheben der Phönix eines neuen Geistes.
Ein Zeichen der Freiheit und Wandel. Wir halten zusammen und leben auf uns, verkommen das immer der Wolle. Wir folgen und treiben es auf mit dem Haar, wie das deutsche Blut in den Adern, Volk ans Gehör. Volk ans Gehör.
One last thing, Steve. I know I left you with the speech of Dr. Golbus speaking about burning the books, that anything that was unintellectual. Let me line this out for you because you clearly will not understand. This was the justification to burning all books of German origin that were either Jewish by author or did not fit into the Socialist Nationalist Party. Let me repeat that. Socialist Nationalist Party. Correctly stubbed the National Socialist Party. You know, I switched those around. But I wanted to emphasize socialist because you seem to be one. Nazi is short for National Socialist. If you think socialism is so goddamn great, you need to look at the Nazi Party because they were socialists. Communists don't like socialists for the most part. If you've cared to read the Communist Manifesto, you'd figure that out. Chances are you didn't. You're too self-absorbed and you're reading an atheist read series and trying a new God book on for size while you defend Islam of all fucking things, you goddamn hypocrite. I think that's the thing that irritates me the most about you is you're a hypocrite. But I digress. I leave you with that piece because it's important to understand. The Nazis didn't start out by taking over Germany by force. They started out as a movement with Hitler in the front. 7 people called themselves the National Socialist Party. They then overthrew in a fair election, so they say, the entirety of the German party, and thus dubbed the Nazi Party. The next thing they did was silence dissenters, either by force or by book burning, which you just saw. The equivalent in the modern age is taking the platform away from people that you do not agree with, something that's entirely antithetical to the democratic process and to this country. You seem to think it's okay to make people shut up. that disagree with you. In other podcasts or whatever you want to call them, you did hangouts with some people, and you basically called them Nazi apologists. You are a Nazi. If you want to pull out Godwin's law, you are following the footsteps of your ancestors, Steve. This is why people are appalled with you. If this doesn't get through to you, and my anger toward anybody that would follow the fucking moron that's called Hitler, maybe this will get through to you. Sure, I started out with insulting you. I actually had a conversation with you on Twitter once upon a time where you were asking about what books could you cover about Islam, and I recommended a few. I thought we had a pretty good conversation. The week later, I was blocked. Didn't understand why. Then I found out you ran a block bot, so I'm like, all right, whatever. I liked his Atheist Read series. I continued to follow you for a while, and then you started spouting this nonsense. I unsubscribed, Steve. I'm one of those unsubscribers. And now I'm using YouTube as a voice, in addition to my own podcast, in addition to my own blog. Because things like this need to be said, and things like this need to be stood up for. And I can guarantee you, any moron that decides to come up and step on me and try to silence me with a fist fight, they're going to have a problem on their hands. Because once upon a time, I was bullied in high school and junior high. And I showed the bullies why I didn't fight back. Because I studied martial arts for the last 25 years professionally. So yeah, come up, step up. Go ahead, try to punch me in the face. You'll piss me off and I'll break you. Guaranteed. Steve, you've already admitted that you can't fight very well, so don't even try to act tough in this either. Why don't you just suck it up, admit that you were wrong, and rectify your ways so you become a respectable member of society. The ones you align with now, how can I put this? They don't care. They care about the ideology. Just like a Christian cares about getting that paycheck and getting the ideology out to the masses, so do they. If you're such a skeptic, why don't you realize this? It's frustrating for people to call themselves skeptics, yet they're never skeptical of themselves. Bertrand Russell once said, a very great quote, that the foolhardy are always so full of themselves, yet the wise are always so full of doubt. Bertrand Russell once quoted in saying, "The whole problem with this world is that fools and fanatics are always so certain of themselves. The wiser people are so full of doubt. I question everything, including myself. I could be wrong. I may be wrong. I'd love for somebody to prove me wrong. I look out for it. I open the opportunity for criticism at all times. Unlike you, who polices their comment section, I have no problem with negative criticism. In fact, that is an opportunity to grow, something you need to learn. If you're so sure of yourself, then you're a fool. For only those that are sure of themselves are fools." Take that into heart, Steve. And next time you post something absolutely ridiculously stupid, be sure that everybody will descend upon you. And note the like to dislike ratio between us and you. There's a clear disparity, and it's not coincidental. And on that, I say, my wife is waiting for me. We're both a little bit tipsy. This, as you saw in the opener, is almost 6 beers. I actually drank the last of the 6th one. So I wanted to let everybody know the bubble is real. Watch this shit. It's great stuff. Ready? The bubble is so frustrating. Oh, look at that. Give me a little foam, too. But you always tip the boot. You turn it sideways. Then, no bubble. That's it for me. Good luck, Steve. I really hope you pull your head out, because I actually do like your series on atheist reads. I think there's some high quality stuff in there. You're very critical, which is good. You need to apply that criticism to yourself. You really do. And it's about time that you do too. If you want to continue and actually make something yourself, I suggest you do it. Thank you.